If you're a person who believes in freedom of speech, you have to fight and say what you feel and let the chips fall where they may.
Whatever you want and then face some sort of repercussions for it later.
Hey, fun, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
Kansas has possibly the weakest open records law in the country.
Retaliatory animus, had it not been for that negative feeling towards speech, they would have not done that.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
Wishing you could see things was my way. When it all gets ripped away. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I can't hide. Faded rain. So far away. Sometimes it gets hard to breathe when it's thrown up in my face.
All right, guys. Welcome aboard. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw that one up there because Sassy's already trying to get thrown out. She's in the live chat and displaying words. I mean, that depending on what audience you have, that definitely could get you thrown out. But she's in good company tonight, so we'll keep her here.
Yep, that's what we're here to talk about.
Exactly. Welcome aboard, Doc. You know, this whole thing with the school board really started with you, brother. You can tell as much of the saga as you want, but I know here recently you'd gone in and tried to talk to them about their new policies on words.
Well, actually what happened is last month when I went there to speak, I hadn't gone to the school board and spoke there for quite a while, couple of years actually, I think, or darn near a couple of years. And I went last month to speak because I had filed a lawsuit against the school district for removing me from the meetings before a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And there was an update that I wanted to make on that lawsuit because there was a ruling that had come down from the judge. So I signed up to speak, and I signed up to speak online. And the reason why I have to speak online is because I have a lifetime permanent ban from all USD 497 school district property stemming from back during COVID. In October of 21, I attended a public event there at one of the high schools, and I wasn't able to wear a mask, and I didn't wear a mask. So the superintendent gave me a lifetime permanent,
a lifetime permanent ban for not wearing a mask. And like I said, that happened in October of 21. And a few months prior to that, I had started a protest against the school mask mandate that was in place. So I was well known by the district. And so it was a retaliation for me for doing that. And
and that ban is actually part of the lawsuit as well. So anyway, so fast forward then to last month, I signed up to speak to give that update. Well, when I signed up to speak, they sent me the meeting link back via email, and they also included their board general public comment rules. And one of the rules now says no foul language. And when I saw that, I was like, no foul language? What are you talking about? That's a restriction on our free speech there. And so when I spoke that first time last month, I gave the update on the lawsuit, and then I said, then I told them that I saw that your policy says no foul language, and I said, well, when I read that, I was thinking to myself, well, isn't that some shit, and so they threw me out of that meeting. They threw me out of that meeting. And that got you to come into the
and see, that happens with me all the time. I keep seeing you guys that go in and you try to make a point, and you let loose a curse word or two, and suddenly somebody's trying to shut you down. That's how I ended up in Jackson County. That's how I ended up following you to the county. That's how I ended up following you to the school board. What are they not getting, man? They just can't get it.
Well, what I think is that these school boards and these city and county commissions and these libraries, I think that they live in like an alternate reality where they really don't think that the Constitution is the law there. They think that the way they run things is the final say in all of it, but they do have to abide by the Constitution, obviously.
Well, and especially if they're going to depend on the police and the sheriff departments to enforce their doctrine, they're going to have to make it constitutionally sound, or those departments aren't going to want to back them up.
Right, and that's how you get into the police not acting to remove, because if you're not violating the law, then there's no reason for you to be removed from the building. And in fact, if the government is the one that's violating the law, you definitely don't have a reason to remove you from the meeting.
Yeah, but nothing happens if they violate the law anyway. Hey, Jason, how you doing, buddy? Go ahead. I mean, so that happened, and then what was it? January 27th was when I showed up there, and I think before I even got a chance to speak, they had already thrown you out, hadn't they?
Yeah, they had thrown me out, because what ended up happening at that meeting. So the school board meetings are every other week. So that first meeting I spoke at in January. So then 2 weeks later, I go to speak again, and Michael goes to speak again. And then there's another person. Her name is Carrie. She signed up to speak as well. And so it's kind of interesting that they usually will do general public comment, in-person general public comment, and then switch to online.
Right.
They did there is they went to online comment for me and only me.
Right.
And because after they threw me out, then they switched to you in person. And then after they shut you down, then they switched back to online, and then they shut Carrie down. It's like boom, boom, boom. But what happened is I spoke, and I had found a book there in the library. I had found the book. I mentioned that lady's name. Her name is Carrie. She's good at finding books in school districts. And so I had found a book that had cuss words in it that was in the Lawrence High School, and it was also in one of the junior highs as well.
Well, and Doc, it's easy to do. I mean, honest to God, when we first talked about this, I thought about Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. I mean, those are easy books that have cuss words in them.
Yep, and that's exactly right. And the book that I read from was just about the cuss words. So I was reading some of the stuff in there with the F words that's said fuck. And as soon as I started reading that, they shut me down and threw me out. And like I just said, after they threw me out, they went to you. But after they went to you, they went to Carrie, and Carrie read from a book that's in the school district, and it was all sexual stuff. And they shut her down for it.
Shut her down quick too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, let's take a look at that now, guys. I have cut myself out of these because if you want to see how I handled the Board of Education, There's another video that was posted a day or two ago. You can go check out. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, two things on that. I'm going to have a video coming out on that as well here pretty soon, so people can see that as well. And one other thing that I didn't mention that happens here is this. So this is the second time that I spoke there, and when they call me to my name to speak, as I'm getting ready to speak, one of the board members, her name's Ann Costello, she's participating virtually online. Yep. And she says, "Crazy Justin speaks."
She has the hot mic moment from hell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yep, let's take a look at this for a bit. Let's see here.
Thank you. So we'll start online. Justin, are you here?
Crazy Justin speaks.
Yep, there she is.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Hey, heard one of your board members, Ann Costello, just say "crazy Justin Spees" right there. So, last board meeting when I was speaking here, you guys said that I couldn't use foul language while I was speaking, and so I wanted to take a moment to read from a book here that's in the Lawrence Public Schools library. You can get this book in Lawrence Public Schools. It's called "The Hate You Give." Who gives a fuck? Fuck. Seven croaks. He covers his eyes.
That's your warning.
Fuck, fuck, fuck.
Okay.
Fuck this.
So, Justin,
so this, like I said,
that was your warning.
Is
we can call a recess.
Man, she didn't even play around. You didn't even hardly get into that. And she was, that's it. We're calling a recess. You're done.
Yeah, and they didn't even call a recess, but they did mute me right there. I'm trying to talk, and they got me muted.
Let's hear it.
Welcome to email anything else you want us to hear.
You're welcome to email it.
If you can't refrain. Did you want to come back, Justin?
You muted me. That book is in your library, and you told me that I couldn't cuss in here because there are children listening, but yet it's in your library. Why is it in your library? And then why am I not allowed to say it here if you're protecting their ears? Can you still hear me?
We can hear you, Justin. You still have time.
Fuck that cop, bruh, a guy says. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground.
Justin, I gave you warning. So please continue to email the board at usd497.org. I do think you have a valid point. We do want to hear it. For now, that's it.
And that's it. They just cut you off, and that's what they're able to do when they have you out there online, man.
Well, and there's such a disadvantage being online because I can't hear them. It's just you're talking into your phone. You can't even hear them.
Right.
And but like you said, yeah, it's just as simple as just hanging up on you, which is totally different than if you're in person, as you demonstrated that, if the police won't the police won't remove you because they recognize nothing's going on, then why in the fuck does the school district get to remove someone just by hanging up on them?
Exactly. And that's a great point, because if you were in person and you were saying those words, as I showed Monday night, they would not be able to remove you because the police weren't willing to act because there was not a law being broken. But if you're online, they can just push that button regardless, and it doesn't require any more enforcement than their singular decision to do it.
Well, and like I said, I've been online speaking for a while now because I've had that ban for, over 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And it is just that simple. Those are what my lawsuits are all about. I was in there speaking, they didn't like it, and they just fucking hung up on me. It's like, really? It's that fucking easy? I mean, if I was in there in person, you'd have to drag me out of there in handcuffs. But with online, they just press a button, you're done.
Exactly. And right after you,
neither one of them bitches.
We got Carrie. Carrie comes in right after you.
Please do come back.
We don't have to watch the rest of me speaking there, but the point I want to make on that is the reason why I'm reading that book is because it has that quote unquote foul language in it, that this board maintains that adults at these school board meetings aren't allowed to say foul words because they, according to Kelly Jones, who's the president there, that they have this some sort of high obligation to protect students that might be listening to these board meetings.
Man, the
First of
students are
all,
saying more cuss words to themselves on a regular day-to-day
well,
basis than you and
yeah.
I use at a board meeting.
First of all, the Constitution doesn't recognize that. It doesn't matter who's listening in on it. You still have your First Amendment right to speak. And secondly, the point I'm trying to make here is if the school district claims that they have this high obligation to protect students from these words, then why in the fuck are they in their library to read? It's a total double standard. None of it makes any sense. So that the kids can read it and be exposed to it in the schools, but if an adult wants to come and speak freely at a public meeting, then that's where they draw the line.
Exactly. And that's why and I had no idea that Carrie was going to be speaking that night. But this is why what she said was so important was because as soon as you're getting kicked out for the cuss words, and then here she comes, and guys, listen to what's in this library.
And move on with public comment. Carrie Schmidt. Are you still with us, Carrie?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Welcome.
Okay. I'm so sorry. All right. Good evening. My name is Carrie Schmidt, and I would like to share a concern of mine regarding the sexual content you are providing in your libraries for adolescents to read. This district is providing books that describe how to eat someone out, have sex, masturbate, and give a guy head. Just so everyone understands what I'm talking about, I'm going to read a bit of a book called A Quart of Silver Flames that is available at both of your high schools. He couldn't take it. It was torture, a special kind of torture, to have Nesta kneeling before him with his cock in her mouth and hand and not be able to roar with pleasure. But then she stared at him through her lashes, and the sight of her with his cock between her lips snapped something. Cassian slid his other hand into her hair, and he thrust up into her mouth. She took him deep and moaned so loudly it reverberated along his cock and straight into his balls. They tightened
Carrie,
further
could you
and
make your?
released
I'm going to add.
gathered
I'm
in
just
his
going to ask
spine
if you
as
can make.
Now, first, what took so long? If this kind of stuff is so offensive to Kelly and she can't handle it, I saw her look down the aisle looking for help. I saw her do that the other night too.
She's looking to her buddy there, Shannon Kimball. They're like the two sisters and all, but they're not sisters, but they act like it. They got each other, like girl power. They got each other's back and shit. Like they can empathize. Like Shannon Kimball's like, oh, I can empathize with my fellow sister there, that kind of thing. She's always looking.
Well, Shannon does bail her out with the eloquent speaking that Kelly really doesn't seem to be able to do.
It's almost like there has to be two of them to take charge of their meetings because one of them can't fucking do it.
But that book is in the library, and this school board is going to shut her down for simply reading a book that's in the library at a school board meeting. Now, I would challenge that if that's the case, if that's the way the school board feels about that book, then why haven't they taken action to put that book out? I'm going to tell you why. Because you can't start banning books, just like you can't start banning words.
And that's kind of one of the things that we were wanting to do this talk here about tonight is, getting into the local media there. The local media completely silent on that fact. I mean, this is a demonstrable, provable fact that book is in the library. And if it's so bad that it can't be read at the school board meeting, then why is the school allowed in their book? And LJ World, North Times do not ask that question. They don't ask the school board about it. It's always spun back towards us being disruptions at this meeting, but leaving out the fact that the quote unquote disruption were the words in the book from the school district. So how in the fuck could that disrupt anything? It's not. The words obviously aren't a disruption, but if they're going to say that we're disrupting based on our words, well, then they need to say where those words are coming from. Those words are coming from those books.
Well, and I think I've shown in there that it's not the written word that bothers them as much. It's the spoken word, because both times I've gone in there, these last two times, I've carried pieces of paper that says this board is fucked up on it, and I've shown it to everybody. And it's not a problem. That piece of paper is not a problem. But as soon as I say that word, all of a sudden everything shuts down and everybody starts freaking out.
Well, you also had it on your shirt. You wore a shirt that had something that had the word ass on it.
Right. Yep.
And then that, that gets into, that's a good point of, spoken versus written. But then and the point I was trying to make the first time I spoke is, well, who's defining what foul language is? As you see there with Carrie speaking, she was allowed to say cock numerous times and was allowed to, I mean, they want to, and the papers are good at this as well. They say you and I use obscene language. Well, if you wanted to talk about what obscene language is, what she just read there would be the definition of obscene and vulgar. Those are graphic sexual content with sexual words, obscene. And yet they sit there and listen to it. But apparently saying it multiple times is what, bang the gavel and got her corrected on that. The first time she said cock, no problem whatsoever. But, if she says cock and balls, then it's an issue. And so then it goes back to the subjectivity of what the word foul is. And they can't even get it straight. So Kelly Jones will say it's obscene language. The papers will say it's vulgar language. The rule says foul language. It's like, we can't even agree on what word that is describing what you're not allowed to say, let alone defining what the word is.
Well, and then not only that, but depending on who's saying the language, it becomes behavior.
Well, they always do that shit, man. Shannon Kimball at the end of last meeting, at the end of general public comment, the last meeting gets on there and talks about behavior. And it's like, bitch, what are you talking about? I was online. You couldn't even see me. What behavior are you talking about? What behavior are you talking about?
Right.
Behavior from 30 miles away? What are you talking about?
And see, this thing with them shutting down Carrie, there was no behavior there either. And they shut her down for the words that she's saying. Let's finish this one out.
Your point at this. Thank you.
It was.
Thank you for reading that.
Me to stop. Are you ordering or are you asking?
No, I'm not
me
asking you to
without...
stop. I want you to have your full time. I think you have a point to make, and I do want to hear it.
You pause for 1 second. Not trying to jump the gun here, but just kind of to let the viewers know what's about to happen. It's like a total gaslight is about to happen from Shannon Kimball. Shannon Kimball's going to interrupt and say, oh, I think she's making a complaint, and we have a complaint policy here. And you can hear Carrie's like, no, I'm making a point. I'm making sure that you all are aware of what's in this book, and the only way to do it is to read. What complaint are you talking about? And not only that, their rule, their precious policies that they swear by, their rules say that complaints against staff and students aren't allowed. Her reading a book does not, even if it was a complaint, is not about a staff or a student.
And the school board would be the appropriate place to bring that complaint, because as citizens, we don't have the opportunity to go yell at the teacher. The school board is our elected representatives that are supposed to hear these concerns.
It's like, where else would you go? And so they did that shit to me. It's part of the lawsuit. On one of the times that I was removed, I started off by speaking, and I said at the time the superintendent, his name is Anthony Lewis, I said what his salary was, and they said, "Oh, you're not allowed to make complaints about you're not allowed to make complaints about staff." And all I had done was say the number, say the figure. They didn't even allow me to finish. Like, I could have said, "Oh, his salary is $235,000," and I think that's a great number. Actually, I think they didn't even know if it was going to be a complaint. I was just putting out public information. The same way.
Well, there's no way it couldn't have been anything other than a complaint, Justin, coming from you. I mean, that's decided, right? Just right up front.
But so that's not fair to me, because I really could have been like, no, I think that's a great number, guys. I think they did not know, but yet they assigned it as a complaint. And so that's a gaslight. And same thing with what Shannon Kimball is going to do here. She's going to say, oh, we have a complaint procedure for this. Even though Carrie is like, hold on a second, I am not making a complaint. I'm just reading this book to you guys here.
Exactly.
Right.
Back to that.
Do I get my time back?
I'm comfortable with that.
Thank you. She took him deep and moaned so loudly it reverberated along his cock and straight into his balls. They tightened further, and release gathered in his spine, a scorching knot that had him aching into her mouth again. He was utterly at her mercy.
Okay,
Nesta moaned once more in a soft encouragement, and Cassian
Carrie,
needed
can you
nothing
please-
else, gripping her hair, her scalp, holding her in place. He thrust his hips.
Madam
She met
President,
him with each stroke.
call a point of order.
Here's
Public,
the deal.
I'm sorry, ma'am. We're going to pause your time for just a sec, please.
For the students.
That is
If she has a complaint, we have a complaint policy related to library materials.
Thank you.
And I would just remind the board that we have that complaint policy, and
see, that's yes, because even if you have that complaint policy, Shannon Kimball, that doesn't mean that the people can't come in and voice their problem with you.
Right. It's not in their general public comment. The rules. It doesn't say no complaints about staff and students, and also no complaints about books as well. You know, that's
well, and what they're really wanting here, though, is they're wanting a public comment that has no complaints in it.
Exactly. And that's what is viewpoint discrimination.
Exactly. 100%.
So they'll say, hey, if you guys come in here and say nice, great things about us, perfectly fine. But if you start doing any kind of complaints against us, that's where we draw the line. You can't do that. That's viewpoint discrimination. And the reason why it's bad for a couple of reasons. But one of the reasons why it's bad is because a viewer that's just watching from the outside is only going to see good things about the school district, and they'll leave each meeting going, this board is great. They're not doing anything wrong whatsoever. This is a great school district.
But on the other side of that, there's also those people that go to the meeting and see the person that has an issue get shut down, and it's going to make those people out there less likely to go talk when they're getting shut down and they know that everybody's getting angry at them. I get it from people all the time that they can't put themselves out there like that because they know it'll ruffle the wrong feathers and things like this. Those people need to handle the ruffled feathers without retaliation and backlash to the people who are ruffling their feathers, because the feathers are getting ruffled for a freaking reason, people.
Well, it's a chilling effect, not just on the speaker that's getting shut down, but anybody watching that is like, you know, let's say they were in line to speak and they're like, all right, I'm going to let them know something that's on my mind. And they see that happen. They're like, oh, fuck that. I ain't going to do that shit. I ain't talking now. You know, that's called chilling speech.
Right.
Provide the citation to the policy for her to follow. Thank you.
She's going to give her the policy.
Do we have the comment and email?
And see, you can see that she's still talking. And they've just got her muted.
Pertaining to the complaint about the materials, we can provide you the information for contacting the board and having that reviewed by a librarian. Okay, can we?
See, look
Carrie,
at her.
Can you?
What's wrong with me reading this here?
I'm sorry, Carrie. Do you have if you want to make a complaint about items pertaining to?
I'm making, and I feel like you're not allowing me to make that point.
I am explaining that if you have a complaint about a particular book, we have a policy, complaint policy pertaining to that, which we can send you.
And I have full rights to read the content to you.
You do not.
During public
No,
comments.
we actually have.
And see, by saying you do not, they unilaterally just took her right to speak away.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say, man. They just said, nope, you don't have the right to speak.
You do not have the right to speak, period. And we are God and Domini Omni and all that.
Well, and they're saying, well, you might have the right to speak, but you don't have the right to free speech. We're going to tell you what's allowed here. And that's what the issue with the foul language is here. So it's no longer free speech. No matter what their reasoning for saying no foul language, it's no longer free speech if they're putting these kind of guardrails on it and saying these words can come in, these words have to stay out. That's no longer free speech.
And see, guys, this is exactly why the Constitution was written the way it was and why the Bill of Rights was written the way it was. And I've said it before, it's written to protect the words that you would want to censor, because there's no reason to protect words that you wouldn't want to censor, because everybody wants to hear those words, right?
Yep.
But that viewpoint that you want to shut down is the one you're after. Now, we got some more to go over here, but I want to point out at this time that, you know, you made a really good point at the City Hall meeting, several times over the course of 2023 and 24 when you told them, you know, you never know, it could happen to you. And sure enough, we had a former commissioner, Courtney Shipley, that goes in there and tries to speak, and the mayor, Bart Littlejohn, shut her down. And
Yep.
who would have thought? You know, Courtney probably would have never thought that she would have walked in that room and got shut down, but it did happen. And I wonder if she felt violated when that happened.
Well, and not only that, not only do things change in life where you might have to go in and voice different opinions, but the board membership, the committee memberships, the commission memberships are in constant turnover. There's always elections, so there's always somebody new up there that might come down hard on you. You might feel like you got just a neutral, you know, popular position, but you get the wrong people up there, they'll shut your ass down.
Yep.
That's why it's important that, you know, I always say as well, is like, you know, a lot of people in Lawrence there are happy that they shut me down. They're happy that they shut you down. They shouldn't be happy. They should not be happy about it for two reasons. First, like you said, because it could happen to them. But the thing about, you know, silencing speech isn't just a violation of the speaker's rights. It's a violation of everyone's rights, because it violates your rights to freely hear information in society. So now you're being prevented from hearing things, and the people that are and what's preventing you from hearing things are other human beings that are gatekeeping what is allowed to be communicated out into the airwaves there. So they're taking away your right to get a different viewpoint, get a different perspective on things, to change your mind. I mean, that's part of the reason why there's these restrictions on free speech. They don't want the power of the word to get to people to change their beliefs and their attitudes.
Well, and that's the whole essence of free speech, is the sharing of opinions and the changing of minds.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's what it's all about.
Yep, changing of minds.
So between, what was that? That was January 27th, and we jump ahead. You and I had tried to sign up for February's meeting.
Yep, this past Monday, so 2 days ago.
Excuse me. And so this is interesting. I'll throw this up here. So Doc and I both tried to sign up to speak at the meeting, and we get two different emails back. And, you know, you can see here in the one that Justin got, I've circled the only spots that were really different. It put them in red squares there. And so in the email that Justin got, it talks about requests to be submitted must be submitted by email before the day. In addition, patrons must participate in person unless there is a legal justification making it necessary to speak virtually. Okay.
And so that's a new thing. The previous meeting, that was not a requirement. That's something that they've now said, that you got to speak in person now. It's like, what are you? And now keep in mind, Lawrence is the most liberal, it's the most liberal place in Kansas, probably one of the most liberal places in America. So throughout COVID, you couldn't even speak in person. You had to be online.
Had to go online.
Yeah, because they were so fucking afraid of everything. But now they're saying,
and that's punishment, though. The going online is now being used as punishment, apparently,
or a perk, or or it's a different treatment. It's a privilege now. You get to speak online, apparently, and they don't care if there's weather. They don't care that would prevent you from getting there. They don't care if you don't have a ride that would prevent you from getting there. It does not matter now. You have to speak in person, and so we see this time and time again when we go and we speak at places. The natural reaction for these government agencies is to start to restrict and tighten people's ability to speak, people's ability to access the meetings. Like, there should be every avenue available for the community. They should 100%. Be welcoming. Oh, you want to speak online? Yes, good. We're glad you want to participate. We're happy you want to participate. But they do the opposite. They start to say, no. We're going to restrict it. The library, for example, they went to their meetings completely virtual now. You can't even attend them in person if you wanted to. It's all online now.
Right. But in the one that they sent to me, they don't mention anything about patrons must participate in person. They don't tell me that I can't. But what they do tell me is that I have to share the topic. Now, I notice in Justin's, they don't say anything about having to share the topic so that they can put it in the agenda in the proper place. But I mean, these are custom formatted for the person, it seems like, depending on who they want to shut down and who they want to control.
Well, and look at just down below your red box there on your email, you got the name, email, phone, group, and it says specific and it's underlined. So that thing, that little area there first was sent to you that just said topic you wish to discuss. And that's the email I got as well. And Michael responded with board meetings. And so they sent back and said, no, now specific topic you wish to speak about. And there's a lot of reasons with that. One of the, or a lot of problems with that. And one of the problems with that is, like, if you went to the school board meeting and something happened prior to general public comment, they're like, oh, now I want to speak on that. You know, shit.
What are they going to do? Say that I can't because I said that I wanted to talk about this?
Right. And so why do you have to have a specific, these are additional rules that they're making up on the fly, and they're not allowed to do that. And that brings us back to the rule that they have implemented now of speaking in person only. They didn't put that on an agenda. They didn't discuss it. They didn't vote on it. They didn't
take public comment on it.
Comment. Those are all things that are required to do as part of the home rule for.
Well, and as I said in the meeting, I was told by Gordon Ross that Kelly Jones had made that change on her own last week.
Yep, just a unilateral one, and apparently that sticks.
Now I'm going to point out, I asked them for the policy, and they refused to give me that policy the other night. And I told them that I needed to have a policy. They act like that they can give the policy, but just not right now. And I challenge that they don't have that policy, because they can't have that policy, because Kelly Jones can't just unilaterally do that on her own.
Nope. And matter of fact, then they tried to do that as well at this last meeting when you were up there speaking. They tried to completely do away with general public comment on the fly, and then move it to the end of the meeting as well, all on the fly, just like that. No issues, no input from the community. And,
well, they were at least taking a vote on it.
and you know, the articles that are written there locally don't even mention that. They'll mention that, oh, because there's been these disruptions, now the school board is going to be talking about doing away with general public comment. But these fuckers, these reporters don't even bother to say, like, well, can you do that? Or even do their own investigation and say, you know, even if the board wanted to do this, they're prevented from doing that in the way that they're talking about doing, because there are, you know, it's not just the board making rules that say how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. The board has to also follow rules that are set forth for open meetings. They don't just get to do whatever they want to do. Right. They become their own legislative body that goes underneath the Kansas legislature if they start doing that stuff. And that's an issue. They're not allowed to do that.
Well, and this is the common mantra, and this is board member Bob Byers of the school board here. Public comment is being used less as providing valuable information and more for derogatory comments disrupting business. You know, I would challenge, and seriously, I would challenge Bob. I am providing you valid and very important constitutional information about your policies and the way you're enforcing them, because you're going to get sued, buddy. You're going to get sued with the way you're enforcing these policies.
Well, but yeah, and exactly. But we could pick this part. This quote right here just is the embodiment of all this. We could pick this apart. There's a lot of things wrong with it.
Well, and then you get to the disrupting the business. Now, when they shutting people down during their public comment, who is actually disrupting who, Justin?
Well, exactly. They are. So Shannon Kimball, just as one example, Shannon Kimball going in there and stopping Carrie while she's speaking to say that there's a procedure for making a complaint. That is disrupting the meeting. And the reason why it's disrupting is because once that 3 minutes is started, that time is set aside now for Carrie to speak.
Exactly.
And anybody to speak. No matter what they say, it can't be disrupting the meeting, because that's already been set aside. This is boom. This is the 3 minutes of the meeting. No matter what, it's yours.
Well, I would challenge, no matter what they say. Now, we also endorse the fact that the fighting words doctrine and true threats, things like that, you can't say those things. and those aren't appropriate at any point in time.
Well,
but we're talking about
but I would
free
also-
speech.
I would also, yeah, I agree. But I saw, just in the last couple months, there was one lady that threatened one of the meetings out in California somewhere. And even at that point, they didn't stop her. They waited till it was over and then arrested her. I imagine, like, if you're like running and threatening them, running up to the podium, then yeah, they would
Right.
stop you. But even then, I still think you can have your 3 minutes. I'm not saying you go threaten. I'm saying it doesn't.
If your 3 minutes is worth the arrest that comes afterwards, by all means, go ahead and threaten anybody you want. But I wouldn't make that a good plan.
I'm certainly not saying that people should do that. I'm saying even then, it would be a disruption to stop someone from speaking at that point. It's their time. It's their time. And but anyways, the greater point on that is that yes, when they stop you from speaking, they are disrupting the meeting. And furthermore, and something of course these newspapers don't point out there. Well, what about Ann Costello interrupting and disrupting the meeting and calling me crazy Justin Spies? I mean, how would that be any different than if I was sitting in the audience and they called a speaker up there? I'm like, oh, crazy Joe Smith. They would be like, that's it. That's a warning. You do that again,
Right.
you're out of here. Or they would say you're out of here. But for her, it's complete silence, no disruption. The papers won't even mention the fact that did disrupt the meeting. I mean, it certainly disrupted, like, as I'm getting ready to speak, now I've just heard somebody call me crazy. And now I was planning on saying something else. And now I've heard this. Now I'm going to say that because she disrupted the fucking flow of the meeting.
Well, and now since you didn't speak to exactly what you told them you were going to speak to, who knows? They might just shut you down for that since you're online and they just control that mute button.
Right. Yeah. And can you put that quote of Bob Byers back up there? Because there's a couple other things with it. The first part of that quote there says public comment is being used less as valuable information. So that right there is false. Any kind of journalist that's worth a shit would have pushed back on that a little bit because, for example, just in that last meeting, we just showed Carrie reading a book that has obscene sexual content in it. That is valuable information that is being provided to the board. But for Bob Byers and LJ World, no, that's not valuable information.
Well, only way, but
derogatory.
But you got to argue the other viewpoint. The only way that specific valuable information can be turned into the board is through the proper complaint form and the proper channels. And it's improper to come in and actually talk about it to the board members. I mean, let's make sure everybody's feelings are okay and that Kelly doesn't have to hear a bad word or anything. I mean, we don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers.
Aside from all that, that is valuable information being provided to the board. But for somebody like Bob Byers, he's completely dismissive.
But it can't be valuable though. It can't be valuable because it's coming from somebody who's not willing to follow their decorum and policies. So then anything they say must not be valuable.
I don't know. Well, I mean, that's the gaslight and all of it. They're saying that these speakers coming in and speaking aren't providing any kind of valuable information. The fact that we're challenging the constitutionality of their policy is valuable information, Bob, whether you like it or not. I mean, what would be the definition of valuable information for you guys?
Well, and here's the reality.
Everything you said is school related.
I am well known for projecting. And here's the reality. When they shut you down the first time, I drafted emails to them. And I said, look, you can't do that. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to show you can't do that. And after the first time I went in and they all left and I finished up my speech while they were all off the dais, which didn't really count because they had taken a recess. I should have stayed and got my full time that night. But I told them, I sent another email, you can't do that. I'm going to teach you this. And, eventually we get there with it, but they need to understand that the people have the right, and Kelly just can't say, no, you don't have that right, period. It's into discussion at that point.
Well, and so LJ World takes this at face value that somehow if derogatory comments are being made, that by itself disrupts the business of the board. no pushback from these reporters at all, and be like, well, hold on a second. So you're saying that if someone makes a quote unquote derogatory comment during their allotted 3 minutes, that disrupts the business of the board? Can you explain to us, Bob, how a derogatory comment would be disrupting the business? And on top of that, Bob, can you even point out what derogatory comments were made? Because what exactly are the derogatory comments? Are you talking about Ann Costello calling Justin crazy? Are those the derogatory comments?
Exactly. But those don't count because those are protected by board members.
Prior to that, no other derogatory comments had been made. You didn't make derogatory comments to anybody. I hadn't made derogatory comments to anybody. Carrie hadn't made any derogatory comments to anybody. But now all of a sudden, these derogatory comments are coming up and it's disrupting the business. Again, I would need an explanation from these people on how exactly words disrupt the business of the. Now, words spoken outside of your allotted 3 minutes, like if you're in the audience fucking yelling shit out, that's a disruption. But inside your 3 minutes, how in the world, Bob? How in the world, Chad Lawhorn? How in the world, Josie Highsmith, does that disrupt the business of the board? Mm-hmm. Why can't they fucking report on that? They would need to explain. They just put that up there and like, that's fact. It's fact. It's disrupting the meeting. Well, tell us how that disrupts the meeting.
And this is the length that they're going to take this to. Laura McCabe is the police department's mouthpiece around here. She told the Journal World that they'd been made aware of what happened and we're going to meet with the school board president and the superintendent to discuss the matter. Now, that was Tuesday morning, but the reality is there's not much that they can do other than telling these people, look, you can't open a public comment period without letting people speak.
Well, and so LJ World, tries to say in there that, well, the police department says that you can be trespassed from you can be trespassed if the person that has the authority over the building says you can be trespassed. But the thing about that is, because this is a public building, it's different than private, and private is a good way to illustrate how the public is different than it. So in a public place, you can be trespassed for no reason. You could go in there and they'd be like, you're not welcome here, you need to leave. No questions asked. In a public place, just because somebody has the authority or the ownership of the building does not mean that they can just boom, 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 for no reason, you're trespassed, you're out of here. You have to be doing something wrong. In terms of breaking the law, you speaking during your time, you exercising your First Amendment rights is not a trespass-worthy offense. So even if the owner of the building was like, yeah, I want him out of here, the police would say, for what? And they'd say, well, we don't like what they say. Then the police would have to be like, that's not a fucking reason. That's not a reason. He's allowed to speak. It's called free speech. You can't just say you're out of here.
Well, here's the problem for them. That's exactly what they did on September 10th with me at City Hall. Is basically Bart Littlejohn said, I want him out of here. And the police said, you got to go. And wrote me a citation for it.
But the thing about it is that the reason why they're saying that is because they're trying to still maintain that you were speaking outside of your general public comment, that it hadn't started. Now, this here is not the case. Now, you were speaking in general public comment, but they're maintaining that you weren't.
I was in general public comment both times, but there's just absolutely no question this time because she had started the time and let me get going a minute and a half into it.
And nobody's even maintaining that we're speaking outside of it. So we're speaking at the time that we should be. They're saying that the words we're speaking is the reason why you would be trespassed. And it's like, what, you're going to trespass someone for exercising their First Amendment rights? That's what the issue is. That's what the issue is. And that's why we don't get trespassed from the library for words. It's the same fucking thing.
Yep. So now we sign up and Justin has to do it online and I go in person again. Now, I was out of the loop on this. Carrie came in person and I'd never met her before, but I'll tell you what, she did a heck of a job in here. And again, guys, I've cut mine out of this. This is Justin and Carrie getting shut down in there. Y'all can watch the shit show. It's in the other video, but this is public comment from February 10th. This is just this past Monday night. And it starts with Justin again. I think they try to get you out of the way as quick as possible, don't they?
Well, they do, and you can see it's clear because they were having some sort of a technical issue, and you can hear the technical guy who's sitting off to the side of the screen there. He's by that brown desk on the left side there, on the other side there, and you can hear him say, "Hey, can you go to the in person here while I get this straightened out?" And Kelly Jones like, "No, we'll wait." And you talk about disrupting the business there, Bob Byers. So intentionally waiting to have me go first when you could have had the flow of the meeting going by bringing in a in-person public commenter. Yep. But no, they have a plan that they want me to go first.
Well, and here's the other thing, and you guys are going to notice this. There is a delay happening here, and if you pay attention, you're going to hear the words being repeated about 25 seconds, maybe 20 to 25 seconds later. And that's part of the reason that you hear Justin not responding to Kelly's questions and then responding several times at once and things. They had this weird delay. And in my opinion, what they've done is they've tried to put this delay in to control what gets said on their stream. But
one other thing they try to do is they try to gaslight me and say that I'm muted. But the way that these WebExes are
right.
is that once you're in there, you can't control the mute function. You can't unmute it. You can't mute it. It's controlled by them only. And when they say go, it's your turn, they unmute it. And so they try to say, Justin, if you're speaking, you have it muted. I'm like, I don't have it fucking muted, guys. You guys control that shit.
Right. Listen to this. You'll hear this weird interchange that happens here, and that's because of this funky delay that they have going.
Okay, I think we have a comment online. You pull it up. Okay.
See, he's having issues.
If she can figure it out.
We'll wait for you.
See, that's where he just suggests go to someone in person. It's like, oh, we'll wait for you. We'll interrupt this meeting and slow it up so we can get Justin in here and out of here first. They're so worried about not disrupting anything, but they'll sit there and wait for this shit to happen. Like, where are you at there, Bob Byers? This will disrupt.
And see, this takes forever.
It does. That's what I'm saying. It's a complete disruption. And it's complete silence on my end. I'm like, is the meeting proceeding without me? I have no fucking idea what's going on.
Were you able to hear the first time she said that?
No.
Justin, can you hear us? Justin, if you are speaking, you are muted.
It's like, yeah, no shit. You guys have me muted.
You guys hear me?
We can.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah,
Go
can you hear
ahead.
me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
We can. Justin, if you are speaking, you are muted.
You hear
I'm
that?
not muted. You guys are control.
Did you guys hear where she said, Justin, if you're speaking, you are muted? That's the delay time from the first time that she said that until that time.
And not only that, it's like, bitch, I'm clearly not muted. You can hear in there. You can hear my voice. She's like, if you're speaking, you're muted. Like, if I'm muted, how can you hear me right now then?
Well, and here's the other thing about this. This is very similar to what happened with the city and Stephen Watts the other day. Last week at the city meeting, where they tried to blame it on Stephen that he was muted on his end, and it was actually Kurt, the guy having problems with his. They're just always so quick to blame the public doing something that they shouldn't be doing. Oh, we couldn't possibly be having a problem on our end.
That's a great point. They're so quick to blame the public that they're blaming me for muting it while they can hear me fucking speaking.
Right. While we can all hear you speaking.
Oh,
muted.
no, Justin, you're muted.
Can you guys hear me?
There's a delay.
Please.
Can you hear me?
That's your problem. You're trying to fuck around with the delay.
That's
All right. My name is Dr. Justin Spees. At the last school board meeting, one of your school board members, Ann Costello, right before I started speaking during general public comment, called me crazy Justin Spees. You guys' policy here at the meeting say, please be respectful of the presenters, the board, and your fellow audience members as we discuss and deliberate the items on tonight's agenda. Comments or actions that are threatening or disrespectful of presenters, the board, or others in attendance, including use of foul language or any other behavior that is disruptive of the board meeting, will result in immediate removal from the meeting. So would you guys consider that disrespectful, have one of your board members call me crazy? If so, why wasn't she immediately removed from the meeting? Why do your guys' rules supposedly apply to us, but they don't apply to you guys? Furthermore, you guys have a non-discrimination statement that says Lawrence Public Schools, USD 497, is committed to maintaining a learning environment free from discrimination, insult, intimidation, or harassment for any reason. You guys say that her calling me crazy Justin Spees was an insult? And if it is, what kind of example are you guys setting to your students? You guys' precious policies there that say we can't be a certain way, but you guys freely can. You have no consequences whatsoever for doing it. I emailed all of you asking what kind of disciplinary action would be taken against her for saying that about me, and got no response about it at all whatsoever. So do you guys think it's insulting and disrespectful to do that? If I were to call her crazy Ann Costello, would that be insulting? What about stupid Ann Costello? Or ugly Ann Costello? What about bitchy Ann Costello?
Just your
Or
warning.
bitchy
It's your warning.
Kelly Jones?
It's your warning.
Any problems with
Can you
that?
pause the, Justin, I'm pausing your time. If you continue with any.
Now you're still talking because there's that delay. You didn't hear her warn you because it hasn't even happened on your end yet.
Yeah, I couldn't hear her. I couldn't hear what she was saying.
That's insane that they do that, and that's what I'm going to back this up just a little bit. But when they put that delay, it creates such a block to communicate that now it looks like you're just talking over her for no reason.
It looks like I'm talking over her, and I'm also thinking, well, why haven't you guys stopped me? You've said I can't use foul language. Why haven't you stopped me? But unbeknownst to me, they are trying to. I don't realize it.
And they're just not making it happen.
Yep.
Just your warning. It's your warning.
Kelly Jones.
It's your warning.
Any problems with
Can you
that?
pause the, Justin, I'm pausing your time. If you continue with any foul language, you will be stopped from participating because it's disruptive. It doesn't comply with the policy. Can we start the time back?
Why is that allowed now? I mean, I came in here a couple weeks ago and I talked about how your guys' policy is bullshit, and this
Okay, you can
perfectly
turn
demonstrates how
off
much
the-
bullshit it is.
Got it? Okay, thank you.
So if I understood that right, you were saying that it was bullshit because you were allowed to say the words tonight. You still hadn't heard her shut you down.
Nope.
And so you're being disconnected without even knowing that you're being disconnected because of that delay.
Yeah, I didn't know.
That's crazy. Hey, Jason has a question. Did you hear anything at all?
I didn't hear anything at all from the WebEx. Towards the end of it there, I also had I was on my phone doing the WebEx, but I had my computer with me. I turned up the volume on their YouTube feed. I had the YouTube live stream going, and I turned up the volume on it, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, that's what she's saying to me right now. Okay, fuck. I didn't know.
See, that's crazy that they set that up. I criticized them for that, saying it was a block in communication. Let's see how this. They muted you, and then I think she just moves on right by you.
Well, they hung up on me. They muted me and they hung up on me. I was at right at 2.5 minutes. I still had 30 seconds left. They, as far as I know, they didn't mute me. They just hung up on me, and I get the message saying you have been removed from the meeting. I'm like, damn. And keep in mind, all I said was bitchy and got the warning, and then bullshit and got thrown out.
Right.
And I know you said you're not going to show you here, but you cut.
Well, I was going to pop it up here and they can see exactly what happened, because what I did here is I've got this video prepped, and now we're going to.
Okay, the last public comment.
Carrie. But before Carrie went up there, I went up and spoke, and this is from the video that I put up on my channel the other day. And this is the beginning of it. We'll show just a little bit of it.
Board. Just to be clear, make sure that you stay at the podium.
You got a safety hazard there that I'm not going to comply with. I'm not standing underneath that thing. I'm not standing underneath that thing. Because if it falls, it's me.
I'm going to ask for you to be leave. To be.
Shut up. That's Crazy Ann Costello, why don't you chime in here? Don't start giving me directives, lady. The only reason you're acting that way is because of who I am. The way you're acting is bullshit. You just threw somebody out because they used a curse word. You guys need to grow some thicker skin, because if curse words hurt your feelings, that's pathetic. Because in your library, you've got books that describe in graphic detail the act of procreation. Did you know that? Shake your head. Yes, I knew that. Right, Kelly? Right, Kelly Jones? Your hatred for me just breathes through. Because if I can't move from right here, what if I stood right here? Is that a problem for you? What if I stood over here? Is this a problem?
Michael, that is where we're doing.
How about if I came right over here?
So at this point,
am I breaking? How am I being disruptive? I'm doing. You keep interrupting me, and I'm during my 3 minutes.
I have paused the time where you can speak at the podium.
I'm not standing underneath that thing.
You will be seating. Are we clear?
No, Kelly, we're not clear, because you're being real bitchy toward me.
Okay, that's it.
And I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to sit down, because you can keep that time going. Start that timer back up, because I have 3 minutes, and you're not going to have anybody help me sit down, Kelly.
And we went through that for another 25 minutes, 2 recesses, a couple amended agendas, and I finally got my 3 minutes. But I put the link up on the screen if you guys want to go check that out.
And you guys should go check it out. It's the craziest thing you'll see. The way that it was handled, like Michael said there, they went through 2 votes. They voted to move general public comment to the end of the meeting.
No, well, first they came out and said we're just going to end it.
Yeah.
And I pointed out, well, you can't just shut me down like that. And not only that, but you got Carrie behind me that wants to speak, and you can't just end it because she's here to speak too.
Yep.
And that's when they decided they had to continue. So then, since I wouldn't sit down because I still had time, they took another recess and decided they were going to come out and move it to the end. Well, no, you can't just stop it in the middle of it. I've got time remaining on the board. You can't just move me to the end. So that didn't work. So then they had to reconsider and move it back forward, and a couple members left, and I finished my 2 minutes. And I'm not even sure that was legit, because the board president just walked out of the room.
Well, it's not legit, because I was watching that and I'm like, okay, so Kelly Jones is this enforcer of the foul language policy, and then she gets up and she leaves while you're speaking, and you drop another cuss word there, which you did, and nobody up there is there to enforce the rules, because the person that's in charge of the meeting, the president, has exited the fucking room while you're speaking.
I'm not sure. She might have taken the gavel with her, for all I know.
Well, yeah, probably. So now it's just like no holds barred. Then you can do whatever you want, because there's nobody there that has the authority to say otherwise, I guess, because she exited the room.
Yeah. Well, now here's one of the fortunate things about this, is because at the very end of my speech, they finally let me finish, and one of the last few things that I said there was that, now you need to let her speak and not interrupt her, and we actually got that done, I think.
Is it safe to stand under here now? I'm worried. It's kind of like your liability. Okay. Wowza. Can y'all hear me?
Can you restart it? She was getting settled to 3 o'clock.
Trying to.
No, it's okay. We want to get you back to the 3
What's
minutes.
going on here?
Okay, as soon as you're settled, we'll start the clock. Welcome.
I don't know if I'll ever be settled.
Yeah, me neither.
Maybe pause for a second.
This back.
Just if you could.
So two things. You'll hear her say like, she says something like, "Is it okay if I move this back?" And you can hear Kelly whisper to herself in a passive aggressive way, "No, it's actually not." And not being forceful and saying, "No, it's actually not." But secondly, remember they claim that you were being a disruption by moving the podium, but they all just sit there and let her do that and don't say anything about it.
Well, she's not somebody they need to really shut down because they don't know that she's gonna.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They haven't decided.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I
know, but I'm arguing Kelly's viewpoint. Well, she's never been here before. No, I'm just giving the other side, man. We got to, fair and balanced reporting, right? Just giving the other side.
Come on, man. No, because if they're going to say the word that it's a disruption, that applies equally. If you're doing the same behavior that they're saying is a disruption, then it has to be a disruption for everyone.
Right, but she's not a disruption, Justin. We are.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I'm saying just from a
no. See, that's the simple fact of it.
Well, I guess I would hope that you'd have these reporters there in town that would see these things and be like, yeah, hey Kelly, I noticed that you said Michael was being a disruption because he didn't speak where you guys set up the podium, but you had another speaker there that also moved the podium, and you didn't say that she was being a disruption. Can you tell us why that is, Kelly? But instead, no, you got just these lazy fucking journalists and lazy editor Chad Lawhorn, lazy editor Mackenzie Clark, lazy journalist Maya Hodson, that will not ask that. They are more than happy to let the narrative just play out that, oh, Justin and Michael, like you're saying, Justin and Michael are down there. And
here's their headline, man.
Yep.
I thought it was the headline.
Yep. He wouldn't obey the policy.
The meeting was disrupted by public comment.
Yep. Isn't that something? And the way they present this, not only are the reporters stupid for not recognizing the difference, but then you have all these Lawrence readers of this stuff that go, those two guys just down there disrupting the fucking meeting without even stopping to consider what actually is going on down there. That's one example. You move the podium, you're a disruption. Somebody else moves the podium, it's nothing. It's no big deal. It's not a disruption. And these brain dead readers do not sit there and go, well, hold on a second. It seems like the actual issue is the school board, not these two guys that are in there speaking. It seems like this is a school board thing. I mean, just think of that even the headline of this article, it doesn't even accurately capture what happened.
Well,
totally
you look right here.
narrative.
You look right here where it says Irvi was breaking decorum rules.
Yeah.
What decorum rule had I broken?
Right, exactly. Yeah, what decorum rule?
And you can't limit my speech. And here's the reality. If your rule is repugnant to the Constitution, then I have a responsibility to correct that rule or to push against it. And in reality, anything that you're doing that is, you can't criminalize constitutional behavior.
Right.
And so you're not going to be able to call me a criminal for coming up there and speaking my mind and calling out bullshit policies that limit the saying of the word shit.
Yeah, put that article back up there, that specific part of it. So it says, and was preventing the school board from moving forward with their meeting. Well, okay, then LJ World, then why, if that's the case, if Michael was preventing the school board from moving forward with their meeting, why wasn't he arrested then?
Exactly.
If he was actually preventing. So the actual
the reality of it and what really should have been written there is that the school board prevented you from finishing your general public comment is what the reality of the situation was. But what they do is they spin it and they make the school board a victim. So you mean to tell me that you, Michael, have the power to prevent the school board from moving forward with their meeting and not be arrested for it as it being a crime for preventing public business from taking place?
Well, and here's the thing. Let's address that a little bit. I've got another one here. I'm going to throw this up here for a second because let's just talk about the actual statutes that we have here in Kansas. Okay. This is KSA 215922, and this is exactly what I told Kelly Jones, that if she thought she could stick it, to have at it. But it's interference with the conduct of public business in public buildings, and it can be aggravated depending on the use of a weapon. But I've got to be knowingly impeding any public official or employee in the lawful performance of duties. I've got to be conduct in public building, owner operated, blah, 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 so as to knowingly deny public officials, public employees, or any invitee on such premises their lawful rights. Well, in all honesty, when I'm up there speaking during my public comment and you're gaveling me out because I've said a dirty word, what you've done is you have interfered with my lawful rights.
They're breaking the law. They
Exactly.
are violating that law right there because you are within your rights in that 3 minutes and they are stopping you from doing it. They are breaking the fucking law.
Right. And not only that, but they're violating the constitutional right to free speech and free expression.
Well, that one's obvious. That one's obvious. But if they want to get into the statutes, 215922 is saying that if somebody's conducting their public business in a public meeting, which you are, and as long as you're within the bounds of what's constitutionally protected. So if you were at 3 minutes and 1 second and you stood there and said, fuck you, I'm not fucking moving, then boom, you've broken the law. If you're within your rights and now they stop you from conducting your business there in the meeting, they're breaking the law.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's other parts of this. You have to knowingly refusing to fail to leave any public building upon being requested to do so. Now, charged with maintaining good order. Here's where we come into this, and it says, if such person is committing or threatens to commit, blah, blah, blah. And see that you can't just throw somebody out without some kind of action that they've taken.
Some kind of action. Yep, some kind of action. And so that's the difference between a private and a public place. Private, sure. They don't want you in there. Don't even have to give a reason. It's their private fucking business. A public place, they can't just be like, hey, we don't want you in here, or hey, we don't like what you're doing, so you're out of here. It has to be specifically like what it's saying there. You have to be inciting people. You have to be threatening people. You have to be physically blocking fucking access, shit like that.
And that's exactly why the cops on Monday night would not get up and do anything about what I was doing, because A, I was within my right to speak because they'd opened public comment, and B, I wasn't threatening anybody. I wasn't interfering with anything. It was my time on the clock. There's a reason why those two officers weren't willing to do anything.
Exactly. And it's precisely why when I got arrested at the county meeting in May, that the DA declined to file the charge, is because I wasn't doing the 215922. I wasn't doing anything like that. I was standing there silently holding a fucking sign. That's not breaking the law, man.
Yep. So let's get back to February 10th and Carrie.
I'll be further away from you.
She did awesome, man.
Is that okay?
She lost her mind when I touched it.
Thank you.
And, I do want to point out, because what she's going to read here, guys, parents out there that are watching, these books are in our schools. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit. I'm going to come back and just hit this real quick, because Justin and I talked about discussing this a little bit. There's been some activity here in town with the school district that, causes to question about the library and what's in the library. We've had a situation where there's some abuse happening, and it's expanding into more children, which that's not a surprise, I guess. But with these kind of things happening, you would think the district would be more concerned about these kind of things and taking the action on these kind of things rather than trying to control the words that people are saying.
Well, I think it's more of this is the environment that they've created there in liberal Lawrence schools, is that they have this sexualized stuff in their books. They have these sexualized stuff in their schools, to the point where even the school board members aren't even recognizing it as being valuable information being brought to them. They're like saying, hey, look at this smut that's in your schools. And they're like, that ain't valuable information. That's that's mean towards us. You're bullying us. You're out of here. That's the mentality that they have. And so it surprised me that they have these sexual predators roaming their fucking hallways, because they allow it into their books. They allow those sexual predator authors to write this shit and put it in their books and not have a fucking problem with it.
Well, and what do you think is going to be the impact if they try to shut down public comment the week after this breaks?
Well, in Lawrence, probably fucking nothing, but it should.
I gotta wonder if there's not going to be a lot of parents at the next school board meeting kind of raising a little hell over this, because as the investigation grows, I mean, it started out with 1 or 2 and then grows to more than 2, and next week it'll be more than 10 or 20, who knows.
Well, but then you get into could parents even go in there and complain about this happening? They can't vocalize a complaint. So you got a teacher sexually molesting child students, and what, a parent can't go in there and be like, hey, school district, get your shit together over this, because they'd be like, no, that's a complaint, can't hear it. Nope.
Well, I can tell you this right now, that if they're at the school board meeting that I'm going to be at, and the school board tries to shut them down for voicing their concerns about these issues, I'll stand up next to them.
Well, don't worry, we don't have to worry about that. There ain't gonna be a single person showing up. There never is.
That's the unfortunate thing about it, man. But Carrie showed up, man. Carrie showed up.
Okay.
She lost her mind when I touched it.
These books are in your schools, guys. These books are in your schools.
Okay. All right. Now I feel like that's too. Sorry. Extra, but I am. Okay. With all due respect, I have to say that I'm appalled with how you all are treating certain people who speak at these meetings. Just because they aren't praising you doesn't mean that you get to decide what words they are allowed to say in here, interrupt them, or turn off their mics so no one can hear what they have to say. You caused this by the insane policy you set. You told me last meeting that I would get my time back after you rudely interrupted me while I was reading a book available to your high schoolers in the district. Then you spoke during my time, told me that I did not have the right to speak, and then my time was magically over. I'm speaking to show you how wrong you are and hypocritical your policy is, because although you preach decorum here, you provide porn and vulgarity to the students in this district. With that, I'm going to share with you just some book titles in the district that I think that you should know about. Here we go. Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch in a High School. Cock-a-doodle-dudley, elementary schools. You stopped me last time for saying that word. Yaki Delgado Wants to Kick Your Ass, middle and high schools. Wonderful Pussy Willows in an elementary school. Lady, My Life as a Bitch in a high school. They're transformations of Lucius, otherwise known as a golden ass, in a high school. Words Will Break Cement, The Passion of Pussy Riot in a high school. My Hero Academia, Volume 2, Rage, You Damned Nerd. In middle schools, Moby Dick, or The Whale, middle and high schools. You'll love Cock-a-Poos in an elementary school, and The Owl and the Pussycat in an elementary school. This one is good. The title is, Did Nobody Give a Shit What Happened to Carlotta? I picked up the book and opened it to a random page, and it said this. That's why men who don't be fucking men be fucking the fuck out of men up in their right, because human contact, just human contact at the end of the day, something warm with a hole right there, and you'll reach out and touch it. Because, that's quality right here. It is interesting to me that you allow any and all words to be read by adolescents, but you pick and choose what words adults are able to say in these meetings, and call me crazy, but that seems to go against our rights as damn Americans. Maybe you'll be okay with the book that's in elementary, and this book that's in elementary and middle school is called The Body Book for Boys. Let's see what it has to say. You come across an ad in a magazine or on the web for some magical product that will make your penis bigger. It might be a cream, a pill, or even something called a penis pump. Don't be fooled, there's no way to change the size of your penis. Why is your district teaching elementary and middle school age students about sex toys? Shame on you.
Okay, your time's up.
So that's what's called unequal protection. She just said fuck, bitch, shit, all that stuff. Nothing happened. I said shit and got removed from the meeting.
In her defense, man, in their defense, I had just spent 25 minutes teaching them not to fucking interrupt. So I think, if nothing else, I think they had just wanted to get through public comment.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
There's no defense for that. There's no
No,
defense for that.
I agree. You're right.
There is an equal protection clause in the Constitution. They're violating the Constitution. It doesn't matter what their reasoning is for it.
No, you're 100% right. I'm just telling you what I think they were thinking.
I don't get to exercise the same right that you guys got to.
No, not at all, because you weren't there. They can just pull the plug on you.
But even last meeting, they didn't let her speak.
No, because she wasn't there. They could just pull the plug on her. See, that's the thing that I'm saying, man, is that when they keep you relegated to that online forum, they can just simply push a button. They don't need a cop to force you to leave. Because at the point that the school board president wants to come out and try to physically force me to leave, we'll see what happens then. But if they can't have the cop force you to leave, they can't make you leave there if you're not breaking a law and you're not doing anything wrong during your 3 minutes. But you online, you could be in your 3 minutes, you could be a minute into your 3 minutes and say a word that they don't like, and they just boom, you're gone.
That's not the point I'm even trying to make. We've already made that point. They didn't even stop her. They didn't warn her. They didn't stop her, let alone remove her. They didn't even stop her.
No. You're 100% right, man. I'm not debating that. What I'm saying is I think they got gun shy by the time this was all said and done. I think they were honestly, I don't know, man. I can't explain why the inconsistencies and why they're so all over the map with this stuff, but it's easy to see. It's easy to see the disparities between how they treat you, how they treat me, and how they treat her.
And it goes back to, with the reporters. It's so easy to see. That's an obvious one. Be like, hey, Kelly, we noticed that when Justin said bullshit, he was removed from the meeting, but you had another speaker that cussed and nothing was even said about. Can you tell us why that is? They don't even bother to ask that or present. It's the most laziest, biased, slanted fucking garbage.
They're not trying to actually tell the story. What they're trying to do is shape the narrative. That's all they're doing.
No doubt about it. And I saw here Chris Flowers made a good point in the comments there that I wanted to bring up as well, noticing that Lawrence Times wrote an article as well about this, and they don't even mention us. They refer to you as the first commenter, me the second commenter, and Carrie as the third commenter, almost to the the same kind of stuff. When there's like a mass shooter, they're like, we're not going to glorify their name by saying their name. It's like what they're doing here. They don't want to have the narrative that maybe these people, these three people here are actually doing good things here. Instead, they're trying to spin it off as it's so bad that we're not even going to give them any credit by even naming them for who they are. It's not even worth it for us to name who it is. It's just such a terrible behavior. It doesn't even matter who the person is that's doing it.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the online headlines that came out the day after this, or this was that night. This is that Jesse Hermsmoth. Lawrence School Board meeting disrupted by public commenters over policy leading to debate on new rules. That headline right there tells me that some individuals went into the Lawrence School Board, had an issue with the policy, and because of the words that they say, now that the leaders are debating new policy.
Well, let's even take a look at the headline. So the fact that it's saying commenters is saying that it's plural. So it doesn't mean Carrie, because they didn't stop Carrie. So she was no disruption. So it's narrowed down to me and you. I was speaking and I said cuss words and got removed from the meeting. What exactly is the disruption on that? We've been over that you were speaking in cuss words and they stopped you. They disrupted you. Now the meeting was stopped for 25 minutes because of them, but they're still running with the fact that we're guilty. We're automatically guilty. The narrative is that we disrupted the meeting. But if you just apply a little bit of critical thinking to it and you go, well, hold on a second. How exactly is that a disruption? What were these guys doing? It seems like had Justin been allowed his 3 minutes and Michael been allowed his 3 minutes, they would have expired and the meeting would have gone along just normally. There wouldn't have been any kind of disruption whatsoever.
And that was the whole point during my whole thing there when I was saying restart my clock, 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Is this, this is insane. It's stupid.
And in fact, the fact that they only let me have 2 minutes and 30 out of 3 minutes is not a disruption. Now, if I would have gone 3 minutes and 30 seconds, that would have been a disruption. But I actually went under the time because they threw me out. What exactly was disrupted? I'd like to go back to Bob Byers and ask him, Bob, what exactly is disrupted? And again, let's go back to, what valuable information are you saying that what Carrie just presented there to you guys is not valuable information? You guys don't want to know that there's books in your library that talks about the kind of stuff that she said that right there is invaluable information for you there, Bob Byers?
Yep. And then the Lawrence Times, Lawrence School Board President foreshadows potential public comment pause. So apparently somebody said something to the Times that they were going to possibly not take public comment at the school board meetings. And this is what I'm saying. How do they think that's going to work out with the recent news about that teacher?
Right. Well, we've already been over that. We'll see if anybody shows up there. But and even one of the things that happened during the meeting and there was a quote from the board member in there is when they took that vote to move general public comment to the end of the meeting. There was one board member, Yolanda Franklin, who's on the very right there in that picture. She voted not to move it. And she's quoted in there as saying something along the lines of, hey, give them their 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. And if they want to hurl abusive language or something like that.
Yeah.
And even that is a mischaracterization of what happens. Like abusive language. What abusive language are you talking about there? Are you talking about when Ancor Costello called me crazy Justin Spees? Are you concerned about that? Would you call that abusive language? No. It's only when the public is up there criticizing you guys for your job that it becomes abusive language. Now, I give her credit for saying that we should be able to speak, but then to twist it and spin it as we are engaging in abusive language, and then the reporters just run with it and print it so that the community thinks that that's what we're doing, is just too much.
And I go back to that's the narrative that has to be spun, and people, they can't go against that narrative. People reach out to me all the time. I get calls, I get texts, and I'm all the time telling people, hey, try this, try that, but don't tell them that you talk to me. I'm all the time telling people, don't tell people you talk to me, because as soon as they know that you talk to me, they will shut down on you. And that's the bias that's in this town. And that's the craziest thing is if you associate with the wrong people, they will shut you down. And that's why these board members can't break too solidly away from the rest of the board members. She's not going to come out and say, yes, they have the constitutional right to speak. She's not going to leave it at that. She's got to qualify it, because if she just comes out and says they got the constitutional right to speak, then she's agreeing with us. I think she knows that we have the constitutional right to speak, but it has to be couched in a way that she's still in good favor with the board.
Well, then she's a coward.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that, but that's the way the shit is around here. And that's the frustrating part about it, is that we need the people that are in the positions that these people kowtow. Everybody knows that shit is fucked up, but too many people are not willing to stand up and do anything about it. How many times did you hear about government whistleblowers talking about everybody knows everything's fucked up and nobody's willing to stand out and put their name behind it? You know?
Well, but I agree, but I don't think that's happening in Lawrence. I don't think people are looking at that and going, oh man, it's fucked up what the government's doing. They are really going, Justin and Michael are fucking, disruptors,
You think they didn't use names to prevent bias? What do you think?
No, I think that's given Lawrence Times way too much credit. Way too much credit. They did it because I liken it, like I said earlier, to like not wanting to name the mass shooters that happened to glorify it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
They can't bring themselves to name us, is what it is.
Excuse me again. That stuff makes me laugh. Is they can't bring themselves to be associated. They can't bring themselves to report on anything that's associated with us. And it's like, come on, guys. We've pointed out a number of issues. We've forced change in a number of areas already, and we're still villainized. And
yeah, big time. Because
I guess it is what it is, man.
And it's all because of the way these newspapers fucking report slandedly on this stuff.
I don't know how many people are really slanted by that anymore, because I still get people reaching out saying, people that I wouldn't expect reaching out and saying, I appreciate you guys having the fight and being out there and doing that.
Well,
so,
sure. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying for the majority of people.
Well, and I'm telling you that you and I reach more people than the freaking Lawrence Journal World does.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, what do you think? Anything else you wanted to go over?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered it all. Appreciate everyone tuning in and listening to what we have to say.
Yeah. And you local people, I see Chris Flowers and Steven in here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Share the video out. Let people know what we're doing. We're out and about. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Say whatever you want and then face some sort of repercussions for it later.
Next one, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
This has possibly the weakest open records law in the country.
Retaliatory animus, had it not been for that negative feeling towards speech, they would have not done that.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
Wishing you could see things was my way. When it all gets ripped away. I know the smell of napalm in the morning. I can't hide the pain it brings. So